Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Monday Postcast. I'm Maddy Playle. Joined in the studio by James Hill, we have Tom Segal and Paddy Power's Darren Hughes on the line as well. Strap yourselves in for a blockbuster show. We're going to look back on the Dublin Racing Festival. 2 days of top quality action, all the talking points and in-depth analysis that you could need moving forward from that, as well as Grade 1 action at Sandown, of course. And we're going to look forward to the weekend. It's a bumper card at Newbury. We have the Game Spirit Chase. We could see Altior running there, as well as a really competitive handicap hurdle, won the best all season in the Betfair hurdle. So let's get started. We will also be answering the viewers' questions at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. First off then, we have to talk about Faugheen, the big talking point from arguably both 2 days. An exceptional horse, a wonderful performance. I would argue probably one of the greatest racing moments I've witnessed in an awfully long time. I think we can throw the form out the window, just talk about this as a pinnacle moment of sport. Darren, what did you think then of Faugheen? For you, what did it mean? It means the world, doesn't it?
It's magic, Maddy. That's up there with the likes of Hurricane Fly's wins in Leopardstown and stuff like that. And it does show that National Hunt racing fans are the most knowledgeable racing fans in the world as well. Like the appreciation that they show for when they see a champion and when they see a legend like Faugheen do what he did yesterday. I actually unfortunately wasn't there. I wish I was. I was still nearly reduced to tears watching at home on the TV. Absolutely magic. As in, I think we said before the show, who cares what the former meant? I wouldn't even be asking that question. It's just to see him come back at this age and win another Grade 1 in front of the public who adore him. You couldn't write that. Fairy tale stuff.
Indeed. Let's run through some of the stats then. So 17 wins from 25 starts now. He's now a dual Grade 1 winning chaser, unbeaten over fences. Tom, what was your view on it at the start of the season? Because there were a lot of people who didn't want him to go chasing.
What was my view of the stuff? Oh, I didn't mind. It's not my horse, is it? I think the thing we all get sort of sentimental about these old horses, but, you know, Willie Mullins knows him. Patrick Mullins, they all know him really, really well, don't they? And they thought he was going to chase. It's fine by me, and they've been proved exactly right, wasn't it? I agree with what Darren said. What a great moment for the sport. I sometimes think we don't trust ourselves as much as we should in racing. There's loads of good stories, and we have to wait for a 12-year-old for us all to get excited about it. There's loads of the stories like, Andrew Brooks having his first Grade 1 winner on Saturday was a brilliant story. He's put loads of money into the game, and we'll come on to that later, but it was a brilliant story. But we need to trust ourselves more in racing, because there's loads of good stories like that every day. And while Faugheen is a complete superstar, there's others around, and we should celebrate them as well. We
should. And I do think this was a case in point of Cheltenham not being the be-all and end-all, Jimmy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a very important point. I thought the action over the weekend was amazing. And Faugheen was definitely the highlight. That's the 11th Grade 1, I think, now, at the age of 12. I mean, that's why we love jump racing. These stars just keep coming back for more. And it's good to just step back away from, the festival and just look at these races in their own right as being really top Grade 1s. And for a horse like Faugheen to win, it's absolutely fantastic.
Indeed. And if you haven't already, make sure to have a look at Lee Mottershead's report in the paper. Absolutely beautiful. I think it sums up what a lot of us are feeling. Let's move on then to sort of looking at this with a bit of a cold, hard punting head, if you like. He's likely to head to the Marsh now, I think we'd agree. The race has only been run since 2011. The oldest horse to win in that time is 7. So Faugheen at 12 is going to be much, much older than that. He's got a lot of statistics to break, but he's been doing it so far. Tom, what do you consider his strengths or weaknesses? And would you be taking him on for a race like the Marsh?
His strength is he can run quite fast, can't he? that's his first strength. He jumps fine. Personally, I wouldn't back him at 100 to 1 to win any race at Cheltenham. I really don't. I thought he had an incredibly hard race on Sunday. I thought the ground was incredibly slow. I thought they'd overwatered personally. The times were desperate on Sunday, and they all finished really tired. So I don't think his preparation I don't think that will have done his preparation for Cheltenham any good whatsoever. In fact, Willie Mullins came on after the race, didn't he, and said this was his Gold Cup. In a way, I hope he doesn't run. I really hope he doesn't run, because I think we'll be left with the great thoughts about him, because I think he'll get lapped at Cheltenham. So hopefully he won't run, and they'll keep him for a Punchestown or something like that, because he won't win. Simple as that. He won't win at Cheltenham.
Do you agree, Jimmy?
Absolutely, yeah. Very good point Tom makes. It would actually be nice, I think, actually, in a way, if he didn't run at Cheltenham and had a winning opportunity at Punchestown or something, went out on a high. Because I'd just be staggered if he got close to winning at Cheltenham, and I'm staggered by his price.
Why is
really.
that? Why do you think? I mean,
He's
champion hurdle
on,
winner, great festival
yeah,
form.
But,
he's lightly raced for his age. Why is he going to struggle so much at Cheltenham?
Because he's on the decline, Mads. Horses that win at Cheltenham, they're progressing, they're improving, they're getting better. Young horses. I mean, in his pomp, he was rated 174 over hurdles. Faugheen. He's scraped home there against a horse who was rated 142 over hurdles last season, easy game. He's going down. I mean, he's still got the class to win these Grade 1s, but when it comes to the Cheltenham Festival, your career's really, it's really got to be on the rise. And, in human terms, he'd be nearly 50, Faugheen, in terms of his age. So what he's doing is fairly remarkable. But to do it at Cheltenham, I mean, not even Cordo Star could manage it, could he? So, I can't see it.
Okay, Darren, any thoughts to add on that?
I'll just give you the rundown of the prices for the Marsh. These are 6-1 favourite. Mr. Fisher then is 7. Allaho and 80 feet are 8-1. Easy Game is 9s. Fakir Dudaries is 10s, and it's 12s and bigger the rest.
And how would you have Faugheen? Do you think he can do it?
I wouldn't be quite as bullish as the two boys and say he definitely can't win. He probably wouldn't be one I'd be mad to back for the reasons the lads outlined. Now, look, if somebody was to offer me 100-1, Tom Segal, if you are listening, I'd be happy to take that price, but that's enormous. But I am
as well, Darren.
Fair enough.
Very well needed.
I'm happy to swerve him at 6-1 for the time being. He could be end up there to make a market for something else, and I actually wouldn't mind him not running either if he did go.
Okay, so the consensus is then maybe Faugheen's had a good day and save him for a different festival, perhaps Punchestown. The Gold Cup picture, did it get any clearer in the Irish Gold Cup, won by Delta Work? He was backing up that form from Christmas. Darren, run us through your Gold Cup prices now, because I'm sure he was supported off the back of that.
He definitely was, Maddy, as in he had the bad class there from his RSA win last year, which now does look like good form. And he's not quite favoured all the same. Album Photo remains at the head of our market at 7-2 favourite. Santini is 5-1. Delta Work is 6s from 8th after his heroics at the weekend. Lost in Translation is 7s. Kemboy is 7s. Clandazobo is 8. Presenting Percy is 14s. Native River is 14s. And it is 20s and bigger the rest.
Fantastic. Tom, what do you make of Delta Work and the Gold Cup picture then? Is this form really, really top class? What do you think? I think Kemboy has been rated way too high, personally.
I think the form's top class, Maddy. I do. I think they're 3 very good horses. But would I back any of them to win at Cheltenham on the back of that? No, not at all. Look at the time of the race. Over Christmas, Delta Work won the Savills Chase, and everyone said, it was a silly race. They went really slowly. It was just a Mickey Mouse race. Monolly nearly nicked it off the front. I think it was 8 seconds quicker. It was 8 seconds quicker than they ran on Sunday. And they were walking up the straight in all the races, in my opinion. I thought the ground was really testing, really hard work. If they didn't lose their race behind there, I will be staggered. I really would. I thought they'd finished with their heads on their knees. I just think it's a terrible preparation. I like Delta Work. He's a great horse. He's a lovely, improving, good jumping horse who in normal years I'd give a cracking chance. But I just think that preparation he's had there is just not what I want going into a Gold Cup. I'd much rather have an Album Photo preparation or a Clandazobo preparation or a Native River preparation. These horses, they're going to have to be really, really tough to come out of that and then win a Cheltenham Gold Cup. Me, I don't see it. So they're off my list, all those 3.
Okay, and what do you think of the picture overall? Because you mentioned Native River there, obviously Album Photo there. There's a lot of strong stayers in there. There's not perhaps the sort of classy speed angle that we sometimes get with a Gold Cup, with a horse stepping up. Maybe Clandazobo would be one, but obviously he was beaten in it last year. What's your opinion on the race as a whole, and who do you fancy most? I
think it's really good. I mean, we got last year's winner. I think he's the one that... It's boring. I think he's the most likely winner. I think he's going to be the one that's best prepared for the race. I personally, at the prices, think Native River's overpriced. I really do, because I think he was better with the blinkers on at Aintree than he's been for a year since he won it. I think he could definitely run it. I don't think he'll be good enough to beat the young horses, but I think he'll be good enough to beat most of them, and therefore I think he's got a good each way chance. Clandazobo, I'm worried about him going left-handed. I just don't. He's never won at Cheltenham. I think that's got to play in your back of your mind. I love the horse. He's my favourite. I think he'll win 4 or 5 King Georges. Do I think he'll win a Gold Cup? No, and I think it's a solid race. As I say, I would have been very interested in Delta Work, bar the way the race turned out. I thought it was a real grueling slog a month before the Gold Cup, and I just don't think that's the type of preparation I like.
Okay. Jimmy, what did you think of the Irish Gold Cup?
I thought, like Tom said, it was a real tough trial, and it usually is a tough trial. It has a history of not producing that many Gold Cup winners, and that may be a reason why. Having said that, I thought that's the best I've seen Delta Work jump. For me, his jumping's always been a bit of a negative. Thought he jumped well there, and he is progressive. The RSA form seems to be coming up trumps too, so he'd definitely be on my shortlist for the Gold Cup. I thought Kemboy had a really hard race. He didn't jump well. I thought a lot of his jumping was very scrappy, messy, and they just had the legs over Presenting Percy. But I mean, yeah, there would be others, I would agree with Tom, who've had a better preparation than that. That was a tough race.
It certainly was. Darren, Delta Work, he's very straightforward and he gets the job done. That's what a lot of people are going to be looking for in a Gold Cup horse.
Yeah, and he's the coming horse. And I think, at the very start of the season, we were saying that the RSA last year was probably the best race run at Cheltenham, and then a couple of them kind of underperformed for various reasons. But I think, again, things have come in such ways since then between Santini and Delta Work that it probably was one of the better races. Again, I wouldn't be as put off as Tom is by the race yesterday, but I definitely take his point. I do 100% agree with him that Native Rivers is the overpriced one. I don't think this year looks to be as good as the year that he won it, and a repeat of his performance from the year he beat My Bite would be near enough good enough to win this. But yeah, I wouldn't put anyone off Delta Work necessarily, but he is getting a bit skinny in the old price now.
Okay, so maybe value to be had elsewhere in the Gold Cup market. Then another race which maybe didn't get that much clearer either was the Champion Hurdle. Honeysuckle, of course, she remained unbeaten in winning the Irish Champion Hurdle, but it was workmanlike and there was question marks about the form as well, with Darvastar and Petit Mouchoir in behind. Sharjah just didn't seem to perform. Super Sunday, he was well beaten as well. She's going to get her £7 allowance. There's been a lot spoken about this in the past. Tom, with that allowance, do you think the Champion Hurdle is the right race to go for?
No, I don't. I don't know. I was really unimpressed with her on Saturday, not unfortunately. I thought she'd win easier, really. I really did. I thought she was something really special, and I was a little bit disappointed. I have to admit, I thought she was a bit laboured. I didn't think she jumped that well. That form there is way off what she'll need to win the Champion. Now, I know it's not a great Champion Hurdle, but beating Petit Mouchoir, forget Darvastar, who could be an improver, and Gavin Cromwell's a different kettle of fish, but beating Petit Mouchoir a length doesn't really do it for me, I have to admit. I think she's too short. I think they'll end up seeing sense and going for the mares myself, because I think that's where she's got a best chance of winning. Okay,
potentially taking on Benny de Jure, the Galmoy Hurdle winner. A bit more of that later on. Jimmy, were you as negative as Tom? It seems like quite a few of these performances aren't setting the panel alight today. I
was reasonably impressed with her, actually, Honeysuckle. I've never felt she's like a massive superstar or anything. I thought she's a good mare, but she, you look at her form. I mean, it was pretty ordinary, really, leading up to this race. I thought she went off very short, but really, I thought she travelled really nicely. It was a strong gallop all the way. Just the problem was her hurdling, and I think I can forgive her that because she's quite inexperienced in that grade. I expect her jumping to improve, and if it does, I think she can win the Champion Hurdle. That would be the race I would go for, because if she's up against Benny de Jure and the mares, it might be a harder race to win. So one thing I did love was her attitude. She really stuck at it. After she made that mistake at the last, I think a lot of horses would have laid down, but she really stuck her neck out, battled back, got in front of Petit Mouchoir and held off Darvastar. So she'll come up the hill on that evidence.
Yeah, we often talk about stamina being a premium in the Champion Hurdle, because although it's a speed race, you really need to stay in there at the end. Darren, she's a horse that the Irish people seem to have really taken into their hearts, and unbeaten. I mean, it's no wonder why, really, is it?
Absolutely, yes. And look, I'd be kind of the same as the lads here. I wouldn't be going rushing into the Champion Hurdle off the back of that performance. That's just not a strong enough performance to warrant running there. But she's entitled to have run slightly below herself. She is generally very consistent and generally runs quite well. If you can freshen her up in time for March, maybe she could be competitive, because she doesn't need to run to that high a level to be competitive. She's still only second favourite in our Champion Hurdle market, which is headed by Epitant at 4s. Honeysuckle then is 6s. Pentland Hills and Saldier are 7s. Pascal Dream is 9s, and it's 14s and bigger the rest. Yeah, look, the likes of Leopardstown and Petit Mouchoir would make serious questions about the value of that form. But I wouldn't let that be the only reason I don't go to the Champion Hurdle.
Okay, let's talk about the Champion Hurdle then, as well as Honeysuckle. Jimmy, if I was to give you a £10 free bet, which I'm not going to do, I'm afraid, who would you put it on for the Champion Hurdle in March?
Tough one, Mads. I also thought Saldier's form was boosted by that run of Petit Mouchoir. I don't think we haven't seen much of him, but when we have seen him, he's been winning, or maybe when he should have won last season when he fell against Espoir d'Allen. So I probably marginally prefer Honeysuckle simply because she's got the most recent form and she's improving, and I like what I saw on Saturday. But I mean, it is very close. I mean, the horses who are bigger prices, I still think they're going to run better than their odds, a lot of them.
Okay, Tom, where's your money going then?
Well, I was desperately disappointed with Sharjah.
Why? Why did he run so badly?
No
so
idea.
many of them seem to run bad races. I can't put my finger on why.
He's just an inconsistent. It looked like he gave up, didn't he? He made a slight mistake at the second last and just stopped, didn't he? He sort of like gave up. Maybe he hurt himself. Don't know. Things will come out. He's, on his best form, he's as good as any of them.
Are we discounting Classical Dream as well?
Yeah,
Obviously, he didn't run.
Put a fork in him. He's gone. Don't want him. I think the handicapper, Not So Sleepy, is quite an interesting horse myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old man now, Maddy, and it was probably before you were even born, but I remember Make a Stand and Marble Arch and horses like that coming out of races like Not So Sleepy did, and one winning, one finishing second. I don't think this is a great year, and I was blown away with his performance at Ascot. Now he's down to run in the Betfair. There's a report on our website today saying he might not run in the Betfair on Saturday, and they'll wait for Cheltenham. I think he's just got the style of racing. If he could get out in front on soft ground, which it will be on the first day, they won't let it be anything but soft ground on the first day. I could see him running a massive race because he's a really strong stayer. And if they can get to him, they'll probably go past him. But I think he's the value for me at the moment because I just think it's wide open. I think anything can win it. That's why I was probably a bit harsh when I said earlier I don't fancy Honeysuckle. She can win it because she's the same as all of them. You know what I mean? You could throw a paper over all of them and not have the winner.
But it's a price thing, isn't it?
It's a price thing. She's 7-2, 4-1, or what? I think Darren said 6-1 there. So that's a fair enough price if you fancy her, but she's got to run, and so therefore, the moment I'd throw a few quid at Not So Sleepy. I think.
Okay, and Darren, finally then.
Course of Bleem. I think he's the type of horse that could improve. He's not your typical trying further runner in that. Like, he only had the one start as a flat horse. He's a big lad. They talk about Minglaw in terms of home and gardens, in terms of how good a workhorse he is. He can reproduce that on track in an open year. I thought he could run quite well. And
has he had a breathing operation since the last run?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he made a noise over Christmas and they didn't really know what the story was. So yeah, they tinkered with his wind. I'm of the opinion he's a much better horse fresh as well. So I'm kind of happy that they're going straight to Cheltenham with him. Yeah, he'd be one. He's 25 to 1 with us. Tom's Not So Sleepy is 20 to 1. I think 25 to 1 is a more than fair price in a year that, a lot of the ones shorter than him mightn't even run.
Okay, so a couple of dark horses then, if you want to have a look at the Champion Hurdle market. Let's move on to the Champion Chase market now then. Chacun Pour Soi, he won the Dublin Chase beating Min. We didn't have Aplutard in there. Silos Emery was an early faller, so again it was a race that arguably fell apart a little bit, but Willie Mullins' comments after the race were very eye-catching indeed. Will Cheltenham suit him? That's the big question, Jimmy.
I don't see no reason why not. I mean, he jumps and travels beautifully. Soft ground might be a problem. I mean, I'm not sure how strong a stayer he is. I can see, the likes of Altior and Defi de Soy staying stronger than Chacun Pour Soi up the hill. But if it's lively, if the conditions are good, I mean, that will really suit him, particularly off a fast pace, because that was a really fast-run race, and he had no problem laying out whatsoever. His jumping, made him go forward at virtually every fence. So for the first time, I thought he really lived up to the hype there. I wasn't quite sure about what everyone was saying after his Punchestown win, but after that, I'm a believer.
Okay, you and I went head-to-head in a jury we did. You were more on side. I thought Defi de Soy was exceptional value compared to him at the prices. Darren will remind us of those at the minute. Let's go to you next, Tom. I mean, I thought Chacun Pour Soi, as much as it was a lovely performance, I thought he got very tired in the closing stages, or was he just idling? What do you think?
I don't know, to be honest. What I would say is that you'll never see a race go better for one horse than that race did for Chacun Pour Soi, will you? You know, it was a 4-horse race to begin with. One of them fell in the first fence, and then the other two set off and take each other on for 3/4 of the race, and he's just sort of left in front when the music stops. So while I'm very, very happy for him to be a wonder horse, I think on what he showed on Saturday, I'd expect Effie de Soy to beat him, but I do think there's something about him that is star quality myself. The way he jumps, the way he travels. I don't think we saw the best of him for some reason there. I was really disappointed, I have to admit, because I thought the way the race went, he was going to jump the last and go away to win by 10 lengths, and he didn't. Why? I don't know. I have no idea. There might be a stamina thing. It may have been a ground. I don't know, but he just didn't do as much after the last as I was expecting. But he's a brilliant jumper. And that will hold him. I mean, if Altior comes back, he won't beat Altior, but he's a much better jumper than Altior is these days, in my opinion. I think Altior's hasn't jumped that well for a couple of years now. So he's in there with a shot. Would I have him as short as he is? No, but I could see myself backing him on the day for sure.
Okay, I'm in agreement with you totally. In the final furlong, I was hoping for fireworks. Maybe I was being a bit greedy, but I think Defi de Soy, dual Cheltenham Festival winner, excellent Cheltenham record. I think he's 6 from 8 or something like that. The track, I'd much rather him at the prices. Darren, remind us of those prices.
Sure thing, Maddy. Yeah, so Defi de Soy is our 15th favourite for the Champion Chase. Chacun Pour Soi is 3s. Altior is 7-2. A Plus Tard is 10s. Kilas Emery is 14s. Un de So is 16s and is 20s, and bigger the rest.
Super. I was very disappointed that A Plus Tard didn't run because I was interested in backing him. I think, were you on A Plus Tard as well, or was it someone else in the office?
I was backing A Plus Tard, yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame about that. We'll talk more about the ground a bit later.
One thing, Maddy, though, is that might give A Plus Tard a better chance of running, actually, because I don't think anyone's going to be blown away with that. And I think if Chacun Pour Soi had gone away and won by 10 lengths, they would have definitely gone for the Ryanair. I think if it's very soft ground, they might change their mind and go for the Champion Chase, because I'm with you. I think in a testing 2 miles, I think he'd beat Chacun Pour Soi again. Yeah,
I just thought the prices, I think people assume that he was going to improve from Christmas Chacun Pour Soi and beat A Plus Tard easily, but until it's actually done, I'm not necessarily sure that's the case. Darren, what do you think of them as a group? I mean, it could be an absolutely exceptional Champion Chase if they all turn up.
I think I'd say what I said here 2 weeks ago. I'd say the same thing again. If Altior turns up in the form that he even that he won the Champion Chase last year, he will win this too in handstand. I don't think Defi de Soy is that good. He's beaten Un de So twice. Un de So is getting on. Un de So wasn't ridden the way he probably could be ridden to see him to his best. Definitely the second time and possibly the first time as well. Chacun Pour Soi, grand, okay, fair enough. He beat Min. Altior's been beating Min since he came out of the womb. A Plus Tard, he beat Ordinary World by 6 lengths the last day. At Christmas when he ran at Christmas, that's not good enough for him to win a Champion Chase. Kilas Emery could be the dark horse at 14s. You didn't see enough of him at the weekend. He fell. Un de So, too old. Duvan finished. As in, I wouldn't be going crazy over this race at all. And I really do think Altior is the one to beat. He could be a fairly decent price in the day as well. He's 7-2 there at the minute. If he's acting like that in the day, I'll be having one of my biggest bets ever.
Wow. Bold statement then from Darren. Altior, we'll see if he runs this weekend. Fingers crossed he does. It's a case of Willie won't he recently with where he's going to turn up. That will have a big impact on the Champion Chase market for sure. Other takeouts then, before we get on to some of the talking points, let's talk about Asterion Forlonge. I wasn't expecting him to do what he did, but now the Donnellys are posed with a bit of a question. They've got him, they've got Shishkin, who's going to run on Thursday at Huntingdon, and they've also got the big getaway. Jimmy, how do you sum up this group? Who's best? Who would you send where?
Well, the one I would be most impressed with was Shishkin. And he probably didn't beat much at Newbury, but my goodness, he was impressive the way he went through the line there. Mm-hmm. I think he will go for the Supreme, as will Asterion Forlonge, and the big getaway. I think it's going to be earmarked for the Ballymore.
Okay, if I owned them, Shishkin, Supreme, Asterion Forlonge, Ballymore, big getaway, probably the Albert Bartlett. What do you think, Tom?
Certainly wouldn't run the big getaway in the Albert Bartlett. No, I would do what Jimmy said, actually. I would run he won over 2 miles, didn't he, on Saturday? He was in front of, 2 furlongs from home. So I'd run the horse, I can't remember its name, Asterion. I'd run that one and Shishkin in the Supreme, and I would definitely take on Envoy Allen with the big, I get them mixed up.
Big getaway.
Do you know what I did the other day? And you're going to think that is such a schoolboy error. I backed the big breakaway, thinking I was back in the big getaway.
Oh
It's
no!
happened to us all.
You've had a nightmare there.
I won't have a nightmare if the other one wins.
Well.
I'll be the luckiest devil ever. But I meant to back the big getaway for the Ballymore and ended up on the big breakaway. But then Pete Thomas went and did a piece with Colin Tizard, who said, "Oh, the big breakaway's their big hope, so maybe I'll leave it now instead of cashing out."
Well, you don't have to ask my thoughts on him. He's a Colin Tizard trained novice hurdler. I think we all know where that conversation's going to end up. Okay, that's interesting. Let's talk about Notebook quickly. Does he win the Arkle, Tom? You don't think so?
I did before Saturday, Maddy. I'm not sure now. I'm not
Why?
sure. Well, I thought that they went really hard, didn't they? I thought they went really hard. So I was expecting when I picked up the paper on Sunday morning to see it be a really good time. It was 4.5 seconds or something slower than Chacun Pour Soi ran. Now, I know it's not Chacun Pour Soi and I know they're novices, but I like my novice. You know, he didn't touch a twig, did he? So he can't run much faster than he did that day. I don't think it will be good enough. I really don't. I think there's better horses that he'll face at Cheltenham. I think the English will win the Arkle. I really do. I don't think those Irish horses are that great.
And you're keen on one at a big price?
Yeah, I like Ollie Murphy's horse, Brewing Up a Storm. I think if you look back to his debut, he beat Midnight, Shadow, and all those good horses that have run and won big group races. The horse that won, I can't remember, the Wayward Lad, Global Citizen. He beat them off a terrible preparation. He gave them 30-length start off the back at Carlisle and still got up to beat them. I think he's a really good horse. If you watch the Ballymore again last year, he was cantering 2 out. I just don't think he got home. I think he's a 2-miler through and through. We'll go on to Itchy Feet in a minute, who I'm a massive fan of as well, but I think they'll split them up. So I think Brewing Up a Storm, I think can beat those horses we saw on Saturday for sure.
Okay, Darren, latest exhibition, does he feature in any of your anti-post markets?
Oh, he sure does, Maddy. Yeah, that was a good performance now from the weekend. I think Albert Bartlett found is where he's likely to be, and he is our second favourite step behind Time Hill, who is 5-1. Latest exhibition then is 13-2. Monkfish is 7s, Harry Senior is 10s, the Big Breakaway is 12s, Fury Road is 14s, Lord Royal is 14s, and it is 14s, bigger the rest.
Okay, and before we move on to some of the juicier topics, I know you're very keen to mention Appreciate It, who won the bumper.
Yeah, eagle-eyed listeners or eagle-eared listeners to the podcast will remember me mentioning him a couple of weeks back as probably Willie Mullins' best hope in the champion bumper. I was really taken by this weekend. He's kind of like Envoy Len in the sense that he's probably not the most natural bumper horse in the world, if you get where I'm coming from. So he probably shouldn't be doing what he's doing at this stage of his career. But like the worry was he'd won over 2.5 miles. I think it could have been Perilous or something like that. And, you know, the drop back to would that really suit him? But he put this to bed very, very quickly. I was very, very taken by the way he went about doing it. And look, he's not much price for the champion bumper now, but he's definitely a horse to follow going forward.
Okay, it's interesting you mention Envoy Len because I think he was third to him in his point-to-point, so the form adds up. Envoy Len, he's had some boosts this weekend and he's not left his box, neither did Abracadabras, of course.
Can I mention something there, Maddy? Can I jump in?
Can.
I thought it was interesting that everyone says, oh, Envoy Allen's form was boosted. Well, it wasn't boosted very much in the latest exhibition race, was it? When Elixir Dane and Longhouse Poet were lapped. You know, they weren't lapped, but they were beaten quite easily by, you know. I think we can get carried away. We always seem to have sort of rose-tinted glasses about these horses that are supposed to be wonder horses. The point of the real truth of the matter is I'm not sure his form's quite as good as everyone's making out.
Okay.
You know. Give over.
He'll
win by half the track at Cheltenham. I'm like, come on. Well, he won't.
I couldn't have a bigger lay at Cheltenham than him.
I love this. Right, let's get stuck into this then. Darren, Envoy Allen, you love him. Why?
He just wins. Like, this crackle trying to poke holes in him is in like, fine, you can do your best, but he's still going to win with his mouth open on the Wednesday of the Cheltenham Festival. Like, there's going to be absolutely no bother. He's probably the best horse in training at the moment, or he's certainly going to be one of them. He hasn't been beaten yet. I don't care whether his form worked out or not, but just the way he goes about winning. I'm not saying I'm going to back him at a short price. It's not my style, but good God, he is something else.
Here we go. Now, all of a sudden, he's the greatest thing you've ever seen, but you're not going to back him. That doesn't make sense to me, Darren. If he's the greatest horse you've ever seen, any price is a good price for you. Should be. If he's going to win without doing handsprings, you should be lumping on him at 5-4 or 6-4. That's a tremendous price, according to you.
Not anti-pop.
So what price would you back him? So what price will you back him on the day?
Well, certainly if he's odds against on the day, depending on what else is in the race, I'd have absolutely no issue having a bet on him. Or even it could be odds on the day, I don't know. Depends what's in the race against him.
It doesn't matter what's in the race against him. You just said you said he's the best
It
horse in
absolutely
training.
Tom, come on.
You just said he's the best horse in training, man.
Yes,
Right,
it
I'm
doesn't
keen
matter
to break
what's
this
in the
up.
race.
Tom, why are you not so keen on him then? Just so we've got those
It's a
points
price
out
thing,
there.
isn't it? It's a price thing. He hasn't done a good time. I'm not sure he's beaten a great horse yet, and he's 5-4 favourite to win the Cheltenham race. I'll say the same every year. I get it wrong more times than I get it right, but for me, there'll be loads of better horses than he's raced against running on Saturday, running against him.
Who will they be?
I like Willie Mullins' horse. I like a couple of Colin Dizzard's horses, like you do, very much. I think Nicky Henderson's going to have 2 or 3 in there that no one even, is even considered yet. I think it's going to be a really, really good race. I don't think anyone's going to be scared off by Envoy Allen. I really don't. And I think it will be the race of this festival. He might win it. I've got no problems with him winning it, but I think at the prices, when you come to the day and you see you're standing on the starting line and you backed him at whatever, even money or whatever, and you see all those ones lining up against him, I wouldn't want to be sitting in Darren's shoes if that was the case.
Okay, Jimmy, what do you think of Envoy Allen?
I actually, where I would disagree with Tom is I do actually think 1 or 2 horses will be scared off by him. I think Time Hill already looks like he's probably more likely to go for the Albert Bartlett than he is for this race. Shishkin, I think, will probably go for the Supreme. So, that's 2 horses who could beat him that are out. He's never looked like he's going to lose, man. He's won all his races. I mean, and he's never looked like, a horse is going to get by him. He's so tough. And this is a race with a good record for favourites. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to oppose him too much, that's for certain. Having said that, it is a very good year for novices. So on the flip side, you don't want to be taking too short a price in those races when the quality is so high.
Okay, let's get talking about some of the big fallout points then from the Dublin Racing Festival, one of which was the ground. We mentioned Aplutard was taken out, so too Fakir Dudery and a couple. Delta Work, well, he wasn't going to run necessarily at one stage, but they were rewarded for running him. Tom, you have some strong views on this. Tell us why.
Well, for one, the ground wasn't very bad on the first day, but the second day, I think the course got really scared by what Gordon Elliott said, and it was appreciably slower on the second day, according to the Times.
They looked legless in a couple of races, didn't they?
Really weary. It was a very big advantage being on the pace, wasn't it, on the second day? It was. I just thought, look, it wasn't obviously it was brilliant racing. I thought it could have been better, and I thought they did. I just think that the Dublin Racing Festival is great on its own. But if you're looking for horses to go from that second day on to Cheltenham, I'd be really wary of them because I thought they all finished. I thought they all had really, really hard races. I had no problem with the first day. I wouldn't worry about backing the Bumper Horse or Chacun Pour Soi or Charles Burns horses.
What do you think about the non-runners? Were those trainers wrong to pull the horses out then?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it wasn't fast ground. Can't be fast ground the way the Times were running. I think they were just trying to make a point to Leopardstown. Leopardstown, I think, overreacted. I think they put too much water on the second day, which is absolutely fine. No one minds the ground being like it was on the second day. But I think everyone panders to the trainers. If you're a punter and you watch the racing on the first day and then backed horses with similar profiles on the second day, if you'd back Kemboy or Easy Game or one of those horses, I think you were desperately unlucky because you had no idea that the ground was going to turn up like it did on the second day. And I think that sometimes we pander to the trainers and owners and they say it's bad and they're only doing it for their own benefit so that they can get their horses to run. And sometimes you can't think of the bigger picture. I mean, people are having lots of money on these horses and then they come to the day and the ground is totally different to what you expect. And I don't know. I didn't think it was great. Put it like that.
Okay. What's the solution, Darren? What do you think?
Hard to say, Maddy. It's one of these tracks that just dries out so quickly. The brilliant drainage there and just the nature of the track. It gets quite fast quite quickly. And then, you have this thing of if you water too early or too consistently, if we have a bad freeze, you mightn't be able to race at all. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't envy them having to make that decision. I'm not an expert in most things. I'm certainly not an expert in how to look after the green or how to look after the ground at a race course. As to whether the trainers are right or not, again, very difficult to say. I wouldn't like to have to go back and to explain to an owner of mine after splashing out big money on a horse that he's done a leg because the ground was too fast for him to run on. I don't know, to be honest with you. I really don't. I
Okay.
wouldn't like to say one way or the other.
I've spoken out about this before, Jimmy, and that I think if ground in Britain, if it's described as good ground, it should be safe ground, and no matter what your horse is, it should be happy to run on it. If it's not safe for a big chasing type, then it shouldn't be deemed good ground. And, I think it's either safe or it's not for a lot of horses. What's your opinion?
Well, I think the problem is its proximity to Cheltenham, this meeting, means that if a horse has a very hard race or it just gets an injury on quicker ground, there's not enough time for them to get over it. So I think that's why trainers are a bit cautious. I mean, certainly in Britain at the moment, in the last month, we've had a lot of soft, heavy ground. A lot of the big trainers haven't run their star names that much at all, I think, because they're just mindful.
It's one of those, though, isn't it? If it rains loads, they say, we can't run because the ground's too heavy. And if it doesn't, they say we can't run because the ground's too good.
This is the thing, though. Owners want to win at Cheltenham. It is so big compared to everything else. This is a problem where you get this couple of months from January through to March. I mean, it's great that we've got this Dublin Racing Festival and all the stars are coming out and the prize. It's fantastic, but you can understand why they're so cautious because it only takes a small knock or something like that. They miss a week or two. I mean, they're in a race against time to be ready for the festival.
Okay. Another thing then, British competition. Tom, do you think the spectacle is lessened by the fact that no Brits are going over? Should more British horses go over? Will they go over in a couple of years?
It's absolutely pathetic, Maddy, that they don't go over. It's embarrassing, is my honest opinion. I mean, I cannot for the life of me work out why we cannot find horses to go over for all that money. We'll have 29,000 running or whatever in the Betfair hurdle, or there'll be all these horses running around in these races. They could have run in those handicaps for 100 grand over there. They'll run at Taunton off, next week for three grand, and then they'll complain that there's not enough prize money.
Is it a case of trainers being set in their ways and knowing the sort of the racing book?
Well, a little bit, but it's not hard to see that. I mean, I think there's the Racing Post and all the bookmakers and Paddy Powers. Everyone's telling you what's going on in Ireland. It's not very hard to work out what's going on. I've been saying it for 25 years how we can't muster any horses to go to Ireland ever. It's pathetic. It really is. And, I don't know what to say. I cannot believe why there aren't loads of horses going over.
Okay. I'm sure other people will share in that view. Now, before we move on to Sandown, because time is ticking, any views on the handicaps, any sort of eye catchers that you took out of the meeting, Jimmy? Because there's a lot that we haven't mentioned already. Yeah,
that Ladbroke handicap hurdle, I thought the horse who finished second, Golden Jewel, was, I think, a bit unlucky not to win it. And he's going to be a definite horse to look out for in the entries to the festival. I mean, he was got no run up the rail whatsoever and had to be pulled out wide, and he was absolutely flying at the finish. And I think with a clear run, he would have won that. I mean, he was 122. So whether he gets into any of the races at Cheltenham, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe the British handicapper will bump his rating up a bit, but you need to be close to 140, don't you, these days? 135 at least to get into any of the Cheltenham handicap hurdles.
Such is the competitive nature of the races. Darren, any takeout horses for you?
There's two, and there mightn't be the darkest of dark horses. I thought 2A Permy is slowly getting the hand of hurdling, and he's still very well in on his old chase form. So based on, he was still beating 10 lengths at the weekend, but I thought if he can continue to steadily improve, he could end up being competitive, provided he does get in. He's going to need that bit of a bonus from the English handicapper. Then the last one, I thought Paloma Blue, there was big talk of him. He was kind of a dark horse at the Arkle a couple of years ago. Didn't really put it together. He's a decent hurdler. And I thought he had some sort of return to form at the weekend. Charlie Stout, who was third, had done very good form for the day previous. And again, he's at a mark where he could possibly be competitive at the Cheltenham Festival, but they were kind of the two for me that stood out.
Okay, without answering one of our viewers' questions about who you're going to take out of it to win at the Cheltenham Festival, Tom, was there anything that caught your eye?
That is impossible, Maddy. How can you do? There's loads that caught my eye. I loved the winner of the Ladbroke Hurdle. I know Jimmy was right that the second was eye-catching, but I think
those days are gone.
I think that horse has probably got another stone in hand. Charles Burns.
Okay.
He reminds me of the horse that Tony Martin won this with and then went on to win the Coral Cup with. I cannot remember it for the life of me, but I think he'll have a massive chance if he gets into the Coral Cup. I thought Eglatan, I thought a few of Willie Mullins, I thought Build Me Up Buttercup. She's a very annoying horse because she's just a bad jumper and she keeps coming second or being placed, but she's the type of horse that's going to drop in a big handicap. And I was watching the race on Sunday, the handicap chase, and I thought it was carnage from start to finish, and the 2 or 3 horses got a clear run and loads didn't, but there was a few that got badly up the Acorn, I think, or at the Acorn or whatever it was called, and horse I back called Chavy Artist that must have been hampered 17 times. I mean, every horse that fell in front of him. I thought he did well to finish 7th in that race too. I don't think either of them will get into the Cheltenham Festival. They're too low down in the weights, but I think they're horses that could win good handicaps in Ireland in the near future.
Excellent then. Let's talk about the Scilly Isles, the Grade 1 in Britain. It was very Irish-centric weekend, but I think we're in grave danger of underestimating Itchy Feet. I know that Lorena didn't perform. Darren, let's just remind us what price he is for the Marsh, because I think he could be a shade big.
Yeah, you could well be right. I suppose the way he went through this, this was quite good even after herself came out or was pulled up. 80 feet is 8-1 for the Marsh Novice Chase. I've already given the rundown of the prices. Faugheen is 6-1 5. Mr. Fisher is 7s. Allaho and 80 feet are 8. The 9s are bigger than the rest.
Okay.
Yeah, look, this was fine, I suppose. If it's in, I don't know. I question whether this race should even be a Grade 1. If the likes of Midnight Shadow and them are not Grade 1 horses, I wouldn't be 100% sure 80 feet is either. Maybe he is good enough to win the Marsh. It mightn't be that strong of a race, but I wouldn't have too many strong opinions on this, really.
Okay. Tom, I'm sure you do. Itchy Feet now 2 from 2 over fences. It was a big step up on having a toddle round Leicester and third in the Supreme last year when he bled. We always talk about the importance of festival form. Are you with me or are you against me?
Well, I'm with Itchy Feet. Are you with Itchy Feet?
Yes.
Yeah, I love Itchy Feet. Sorry, Dan, but that's an absolute load of rubbish. This was the best novice chase run this weekend, I thought. I thought it was a really, really good race. And I think Itchy Feet got a massive chance of winning the Marsh Chase, in my opinion. I think he's really, really good. He was a top novice hurdler. I thought he jumped brilliantly. He was really unlucky at the second last. He just stumbled off the back of it. But he was ridden like he was a proper horse, really confidently ridden. He picked up a really good horse in Midnight Shadow, in my opinion. Great jumper, Midnight Shadow, and was a good hurdler too. I think their light years, I personally think that form was miles better than Faugheen's form, in my opinion. And I think he's got a good chance. I would be worried of Willie Mullins' other horse, Allaho. I think he's good too. But I do think Itchy Feet is a massive player in the Marsh.
Well, that's interesting because if you like Allaho, then Easy Game beat him and Faugheen's beat Easy Game, but you don't think it works out like that.
I don't do stemming. I used to do stemming. I've given up on stemming. It doesn't work.
Will he not run on the RSA?
No.
No?
Itchy Feet?
No, Allaho.
I don't think so, because I don't think Darren will know him better than me, but I'm not sure he's a strong stayer over 3 miles. I think
agree.
this will be his race.
I agree. Anyway, let's get back to Itchy Feet. Jimmy, 4 against for Cheltenham?
4, yeah, no, he's got a definite chance in the Marsh. I mean, he was very inexperienced before Saturday. He just had a one run, like a little 3-runner race, Leicester or somewhere. So he jumped like a natural. He's got proven form at the Cheltenham Festival, placed in the Supreme last year. I backed Mr. Fisher for the Marsh, but I think he's a big danger.
Okay.
Feet, yeah.
The other big talking point out of Sandown then was what to do with Lorena, Darren. What would you do if she was yours, you owned her? What would you do? She just never looked interested or comfortable to me at all.
Yeah, she could be one of those that, do you know those horses that, they run in novice hurdles and over hurdles and people always say, oh yeah, when that sees a fence, it'll improve a stone. She could be just one of those that let people down on that front. She wouldn't be the only one. There's a few that come like Big Bucks is another one.
If that race was over hurdles, would she have won it? She just doesn't seem the same horse.
No, I'm not making excuses for her on that front at all either. No, I think she's just useless, to be honest. Or she's been vastly overrated, maybe. She probably does have a little bit of an issue as well. I think she burst blood vessels the last day. You never like to see them burst, because once they burst once, they're highly likely to burst again. And from a betting perspective, that just rules them out as far as I'm concerned. Don't really know. I'm not going to try and second guess Willie Mullins. He'll know better than me anyway.
All right. Tom, what would you do with Lorena?
Get her covered or something. I don't know. You can't back her on the back of that. I mean, obviously you've got to try going back at hurdles. Forget the chasing. She's a massive, great big thing, isn't she? So obviously she looks like she should be a chaser, but I'd give her a run over hurdles and then see where to take it from there.
3 miles staying hurdle?
No, I'd go back to 2 probably.
Okay.
I'd go back to 2 myself and see what happens, or 2.5. Give her a shot. I don't know. I suppose she could be another one to run in the mares race. I don't know. Maybe she'll come back and they'll run Benny de Dieu in the champion or the Stayers or whatever. Who knows? But it's hard to back her for any race on the back of those 2 performances, isn't it?
Okay, Jimmy, quick word before we go for a break.
Yes, send her back over hurdles, find some nice soft ground, find some nice easy opponents to take her on with. I'm sure there's a race in Ireland for her. She's not happy at the moment, is she? I mean, broke a blood vessel last time and she ran those sort of race there whatsoever. She's not in form.
Okay, don't go anywhere. Just after this, we'll be having a look at Newbury, the Betfair Hurdle, Altior, all sorts. Stay where you are.
I'm Jose Mourinho. I know a thing or two about being special. Finding pastel de natas in a London cafe? Special. Winning the daily jackpot on Paddy Power Games? Not special.
Understood, Jose. Yes, someone wins an average £40,000 jackpot every single day. So if you win, don't think you're special. Daily Jackpots by Paddy Power Games. Jackpots must be awarded by 11 p.m. and vary from day to day. Jackpot is shared with other operators. Available on selected games. T's and C's at paddypower.com. 18 plus BeGambleAware.org.
So then, the Betfair Hurdle is the big competitive handicap run on Saturday. Historically been won by some top hurdlers. But first, let's talk about the game spirit, which is now the Betfair Exchange Chase. Hopefully we'll see Altior. Dynamite Dollars could upset the party. Kalashnikov's another one who's in there. And Maracuja, the big talking horse, after he was put up in the handicap, is entered as well. A quick line then from you, Darren. What do you expect to see from Altior, seeing as you're pro him for the champion chase?
I'm hoping he makes heavy weather of it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Only his second start of the season. Again, the defence got rocked up here against him, and I'm hoping he might be an even bigger price for the champion chase afterwards. Yeah, look, I suppose this is probably he's running this before, and he's won it quite easily. Just sort of a pipe opener before the Cheltenham Festival. So it's hard to know without knowing exactly what's going to run against him. But as I said, I'd be hoping he'd make heavy weather of it.
Okay, I think this is a good track for Altior because he can wind things up and he's got a long straight to sort of show his stamina. Tom, would you be betting against him on the day?
Definitely. Yeah.
Who
yeah.
with?
I mean, cool. Difficult one, Maddy. Lot depends on the ground. I do think Magic Saint's quite an interesting horse back at 2 miles. I think he beat him and Bundoran fought out a finish of a good handicap there earlier in the season. He's going to be a bit better off at the weights with that one because that one will have a penalty Bundoran, and he was giving him weight anyway. He's obviously nowhere near Altior's class, and if Altior is back to anywhere near his best, he'll win doing handsprings. But
handsprings,
handsprings, win whatever he is. Yeah, I mean he'll win easily, won't he? But for me, on the back of last time, didn't think he was at his best last year. He's just the type of horse I want to take on. He's gonna be 1 to 3. Is he to beat this lot? That's fine. Hopefully 8 will run, and I'll have a bet each way against him. I mean, deep down, I want him to win, don't I? Because we all want to see an Altior Chacun Poursoir, Defi de Soy match-up. That would be brilliant at the Cheltenham Festival. Will I be backing against him? Yeah, I have to.
Okay, Jimmy, Altior 4 or against for the Cheltenham Festival and 4 and against on Saturday.
I hope he does the business on Saturday, because then we're going to, if he wins well, we're going to have the race of the festival and the champion chase. So if he doesn't win, I can't really see him making Cheltenham. I mean, last year, the year before, he would have won this in his sleep against this opposition. So hopefully he's over that race at Ascot and we see the real Altior at Newbury.
Yeah, the vibes haven't been good so far this season, have they? Let's hope that changes around. It looked a straight shootout in the Betfair Denman Chase over just shy of 3 miles between Native River and Might Bite, those 2 old warriors. Tom, you'd be hoping that Native River wins this if you fancy him at the big price for the Gold Cup?
Philip, I hope it's not a shootout. If he can't beat Might Bite these around Newbury on soft ground on Saturday, he's not going to win a Gold Cup. I think if Native River jumps round, he'll win.
They're the only 2 big names in the race, though, aren't they? That's why I mentioned him. Everything else...
I think they've got 20, 25 pounds in front of everything else in the race. I mean, you always rule out Paul Nicholls in any of these sort of trial races because he'll target them against horses that aren't getting... And so Secret Investor could outrun his odds, but he's miles behind the other 2, isn't he? So for me, if Native River doesn't win this, I'll be gutted.
Okay, let's move on then to the big one, the Betfair Hurdle. It's the Grade 3 over 2.5 miles of furlong. Not So Sleepy. Make sure you have a look on our website or in the paper for our story on him. There is a reason why he may not run on Saturday, so key story that. Hopefully he will, although you hope he doesn't, Tom. You want a bigger price for the Champion Hurdle.
Well, I've already backed him, so I just don't look. I just think if look, I'm quite happy to back him as whatever 6 or 7 to 1 for this race on Saturday, which I might well do. But if I want him to win the Champion Hurdle and I'm on a sort of big prices, then I don't really want him to have a hard race here. Having said that, Hughie Morrison ran a horse here. Can I go back to it? Years ago, called Marble Arch. He was pulled up in this race. He'd won the Ascot handicap that Not So Sleepy won. He came to the Betfair Hurdle. He was 4 to 1 favourite. He pulled up in that, and then he came and ran second in the Champion Hurdle under a young Ruby Walsh, long time ago. So it's not the end of the world. He can go here and then still run in the Champion Hurdle. But for me, having backed him at God knows what price to win the Champion Hurdle, I'd like him to miss this and go to the Champion Hurdle fresh. But that's only me. If he does turn up here and it's soft ground, I think he's got a massive chance. I just think he's really good hurdler. One issue he's got is that he can be a bit keen, but the other day at Ascot, he seemed to settle for the first time. I think riding from the front's been a help. I think he's got a massive class edge, but it's a 27 whatever runner handicap as we saw at Leopardstown on Saturday. There's all sorts of things that can happen. So I hope he doesn't run.
Okay, and I'm sure you'll pick one out at a big price when we get the declarations through. Point I'd like to make is I think Jonathan Burke is an exceptional rider. Yeah. If you know me at all, you'll have heard me say that before. He rode a brilliant race on Somerville Boy the other day. Very good on this horse. Very good from the front. Anyway, who's your selection, Jimmy? Sorry, I digress.
I'm going to go for one of the novices. I think they've been so good this season. Stolen Silver, I think, is the obvious one. Nigel Twiston-Davis, hasn't he won like 3 of the last 6 runnings?
Ginge, Ballyandy, Al Dancer, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought he was much the best horse at Haydock. If he gets his jumping right this time, he's got a serious chance. I think Oakley will run well too. I know he keeps going up in the weights for getting beaten, but he keeps catching my every time he runs, so I'll back him each way too.
Okay, and Darren, Willie Mullins, I think he's just got Ciel de Liège in here, who I'm quite interested in. Who would your fancy be for the Betfair Hurdle?
I'll just give a full rundown of the prices there really quick before I give my selection.
Fantastic.
Not So Sleepy is our 6 to 1 favourite. Mac the Man is 7s. Never Adapt is 7s. Ciel de Liège is 10s. The Banner King Rebel is 10s. Stolen Silver is 10s. Oakley is 10s, and it's 14s and bigger the rest. We're also 5 places each way, which I think is an industry exclusive as well at this early stage. The one I fancy is Never Adapt for Nicky Henderson and JP McManus. I thought she was very impressive the last day in Kempton, for all that Barry tried to make her look unimpressive. I think soft ground is no fear to her. A big field and a stronger pace will help her settle better, because if you do remember, she pulled very, very hard that day in Kempton and still won with her mouth effectively open. If she's on her A game here and if all systems go, I'd see her being very, very competitive, for all that she isn't the biggest price in the world.
So then now we'll come to your questions. Some really good ones sent in. We're going to try and make this a weekly thing, so please do, if you have any reaction from the weekend, do send me your questions on Twitter. Ronan Lee, first off. Benny de Dieu, what would her chance be in the Champion Hurdle if she were to run, Tom? Ricci has spoke about supplementing her. Should he?
Yes, I do. I think if you're going to, this is not a better year to run a Champion Hurdle. If he wants to win the Champion Hurdle, give her a shot. Yeah, my opinion, and I say this to all Patrick and all the Mullinses every time I see them, is they should have won 3 or 4 Champion Hurdles with Annie Power. They kept running it in the wrong race, and they shouldn't do the same with Benny de Dieu. If they think she's got a chance of winning, run it, because it's a wide open race.
Jimmy, is it a case of just her having the class, regardless as to whether she's quick enough over the trip or things like that?
I think she'll be quick enough. I think she's got the class, but I just can't see her running, providing Saldia gets there. Saldia's got a serious chance, and he's also owned by Ricci. So if that happens, she's going to run in the mare. Simple as that.
Saldia's a better horse than Benny de Dieu, do you think?
Probably not. He's got the better form over 2 miles, obviously, but that's not her fault. She's always running over further. But
we've yet to really see him on the big stage, haven't we?
Yeah, he's probably a little bit short for what he's achieved, you could argue. It depends how literally you take that form of Espoir de l'Aisne last season. It's just we haven't seen him that much. Yeah.
Okay, and Darren?
She hasn't a chance of beating Paisley Park in the stairs, so I definitely wouldn't run her there. Yeah, I'd be inclined to send her here, because the way I look at it is this: if you take the top 10 in the Champion Hurdle market and you give me even piece in the match bet between them and Benny de Dieu, I take her every single day of the week. You give me evens between her. If you take her and Paisley Park and give me evens on her, I'd be on Paisley Park every day of the week. And it's as simple as that. There's not one of them there that would put fear into me in regards to running her against them. So, yeah, that's right, Sender.
It's a good way to look at it. Sean asked, pick one horse from the Dublin Racing Festival to win at Cheltenham. Tom, I know you like one, so take it away.
Yeah, those days are gone would be my choice. I mean, I know the boys are going to be keen on the bumper horse, and I agree with them. He'll probably win, but he'll be a very short price. I thought those days are gone would have a massive chance in the Coral Cup.
Fantastic. Darren, just clarify, appreciate it. You think he's going to win the champion bumper?
At this stage, yeah, unless something else comes out of the woodwork from nowhere. By far and away, that was the best bumper performance of the year today. So, yeah, very impressed with him. That's very taken.
Okay, and Jimmy?
Well, it depends what the ground will be like at Cheltenham. I think if it's closer to soft, I'd agree with Darren about appreciate it. And if it's quicker ground, I think Chak and Puswa would win the champion chase.
Nice. So 2 and 1 there. Sean Owens asks, can we use Cerberus as a good yardstick in that juvenile hurdle? Aspire Tower, was he beaten when he came down anyway? This is a funny division, so I think it's worth us spending a little minute on it. I'm not sure Aspire Tower was going to win anyway. Tom, what do you reckon?
Whose was it? Who asked the question?
Sean Owens.
Sean, my pal. No, I don't think you can use him as a yardstick. And yes, and yet was he? What was the other bit?
He says, was Aspire Tower beaten?
Yes, it was. I didn't think he was going to win. I thought he'd come to the end of his tether myself a little bit. I was really disappointed with him. I thought he'd run away and win that easily.
Was it the ground?
Possible hard fall before Cheltenham. It's a tricky division now. I think All Mankind sets the standard. I think if you're looking through. As he says, if you're trying to use Cerberus as a yardstick, then All Mankind's well clear, isn't he? I personally prefer Goshen. I just think he's a really, really good horse.
Sorry, just that finish on Saturday of that race, was it just a case of Cerberus stopping or the others quickening up? Because I thought he was certain to win once Aspire Tower fell.
No, that's one for the what's he called now? The analyst guy, the analytics guys, or whatever they're called now. They'll tell you that. Yeah. Expert analytics or whatever they call themselves. Look, I don't know. I just don't think he's that good, isn't he? He's not gonna. I don't think when Aspire Tower fell. I mean, I don't think Joseph thinks those horses are champion Triumph Hurdle horses.
I mean, this is something me and Tom Collins, one of our tipsters, has spoken about. Couldn't a lot of the horses in the Triumph Hurdle all mess each other races up? I mean, Goshen, All Mankind, Aspire Tower, aren't they all sort of big tearaways? But we need something else to come into the market, don't we? What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, no, I said this a couple of weeks ago. I think Goshen and All Mankind, they are going to go off like God the cat on the day, and I think Aspire Tower is the one that's most likely to kind of take a lead off them. I wouldn't be at all sure that he was beaten at the weekend. In the sense that if you looked at Cerberus stock, that's one thing we haven't seen Aspire Tower do, is that, you know, when a horse comes to his girth, he tends to pull away again. That's been a feature of all of his races so far in his career. The way that Cerberus stopped, I'd be quite sure that he had him beaten, and I would have said he had a way of the seeing Wolf Prince covered as well. Yeah, again, you have to bear in mind what he's already done and what he's already shown he can do. He doesn't stop. He keeps going. Still wouldn't have been the best performance of his career by any manner of means, and you'd be slightly concerned when it's Cheltenham. But for me, at the moment, he is the best in the Triumph Hurdle, especially after the little drift he took after the weekend.
Okay, that's interesting. A Wave of the Sea was the winner of that race, of course. No one interested in him. Our final question then, Mark Smith. We've spoke already about those days are gone. We haven't mentioned Tracy and Iscorthy, who won the 3-mile handicap hurdle. And this is key because he asks, what are your thoughts on Kevin Bruder? Is he a jockey to look out for? He's mainly directing this at Darren.
Yeah, look, Kevin is excellent. He's a good young lad. It says a lot that Charles will use him when he is a few quid down or when he is one lined up for one of the big races. Like if you look at the jockeys Charles has used over the years, Davy Russell immediately springs to mind. Like I remember there was a big handicap hurdle that Charles went and asked Gordon Elliott could he borrow Davy for it. Like he likes the right man up in his heart. That speaks volumes in terms of Kevin and his career. You know, it might be no harm for him to spread his wings and maybe start riding for a few other yards as well, just to get his name out there a bit more. But so far, so good. Over the summer, he gave a couple of rides in Killarney over the summer that I was really, really impressed with. And that's kind of when he caught my eye first. But no, really, really like him. I think he's excellent.
Super. Thank you all for sending in your questions. If we didn't get to this week, hopefully we will next week. Any points of interest midweek then? I mentioned earlier on in the show, Shishkin is going to run on Thursday at Huntingdon in the Sydney Banks. Interestingly, that's over 2.5, I believe. So perhaps that opens up the Ballymore for him. Got some other good races. Jimmy, what's your main takeout point looking forward?
Just look. Well, Saturday's obviously very interesting, but just looking at the races before that, I'm quite interested to see if her drinks intervals declared at Ludlow on Wednesday in the 2:45. She's lost her confidence over fences, but her hurdles mark is still £6 lower. I thought her run at Ascot back in November was seriously eye-catching. So, I mean, if she does run in that, I'm going to have a bit of interest in her.
Okay, superb. Tom, this week, what are you going to be looking at?
Well, it'll all be about the trials day at Newbury, most of it. But I don't know if he's going to run this week. There's a horse I'm really, really interested in. A horse called Buzz, who used to be trained by Hughie Morrison on the flat. He's now trained with Nicky Henderson. He won on his debut, a really small little race at Taunton, but he was a 100 rated flat horse and he jumped really well. The horse he beat went on to win the juvenile trials day at Cheltenham. I think you were there, Maddy. The Galahad Quest, I think it was called. That went on to win there. He beat him, as the Irish like to say, with his mouth open. What the hell does that mean?
Have you ever seen, when after you've done some strenuous exercise and you're panting and you're breathing in really heavy, whereas if you're kind of standing there chatting away normally with your mouth open, you're fairly relaxed.
That's what it means. I'd always wondered what it meant.
Hang on a minute. If I'm relaxed after some exercise, I don't open my mouth. I'm a bit confused.
What I mean to say is that if you've done some strenuous exercise, you're normally panting, you're out of breath. Whereas if you're really fit and if it hasn't taken anything out of you, you're able to just you're able to chat away normally, and you're kind of you're not doubled over.
I got you.
Got you. Right.
I've always wondered what that meant.
We need Darren as our sort of Irish isms interpreter.
Anyway, he is down to run. I mean, Nicky Henderson's got. I think this is the thing about these novice hurdles. I think Nicky Henderson's going to bring out loads between now. We've got Chantry House, we got Glyn, we got Buzz. I think Chantry House and Buzz are both in the opening race at Newbury on Saturday. I think. We're all saying that, we all think that all the good ones are already out there for the Cheltenham Festival. Nicky Henderson does it year in, year out. We hadn't even heard of Penton Hills at this time last year. Do you know what I mean? We hadn't heard of the horse that won the Adonis at Kempton and went on to win the Triumph Hurdle as well. No one even heard of them. Do you see what I mean? And there's loads around. I think Buzz and Chantry House and Glyn and all those type of horses that are down to run along with Shiskin this week. It's how Henderson does it. It's the right timing for Cheltenham for all these horses that are coming forward. So
you'd advise punters, keep your eyes open and don't be disheartened if you see something win impressively this late on.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. In fact, I think it'll be a good trial. I much prefer a horse going in, having run at a Huntingdon or a Kempton on a nice flat track, looking impressive, and than I would slogging around what we saw on Sunday. I think that's a better preparation. I'm just about preparation for Cheltenham. That's how I've always based my betting strategy. And I like if Buzz or Chantry House or Glyn or any of those or Shiskin come out and look impressive, they will be at the top of my list.
Okay, Darren, your main thing that you're looking forward to this week?
Nothing really jumped out. Shiskin, I suppose, given that he's favourite the Supreme, be interested to see can he back up what he did at Newbury, but that was kind of the hype, but it's not the greatest week in terms of quality.
Okay, thanks for joining us today then. It's been an absolute monster. I'll be back with the team on Friday, so tune in then for all your weekend punting needs. We'll go into plenty more detail with those final declarations. In the meantime, best of luck with your bets this week. Rate, review and subscribe as per, and we'll see you next week.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.